levels, the way they do things is they test and they probe and they pick, and they they see what the reaction or the people are going to be pertaining to certain things. That's why you have a term called problem solution reaction solution. Which a problem reaction solution is you create a problem, and then you have a reaction from the people, and then you bring in your solution. Which the solution is what? This so-called New World Order, to where everybody has to come together as one under the orders of the international bankers.
Yeah, and receive a chip. Yep. And basically be monitored like cattle, like you monitor cattle.
That's right.
Because that's why the so-called Jews that control the New World Order, some people call it Jew World Order, because so-called Jews control it. They have a term for people, they call them goyim. And goyim, when you look it up, it means cattle.
That's what they are. And that's how they got him set up, cattle.
Yeah, cattle.
Hey, I just put in news for Venezuela, or news on Venezuela. It says Venezuela is collapsing and the military just got involved. So you know what that means. And Jake doesn't know what's going on. Jake does not know what's going on. And like I said, I may bring down the camera and do like a street interviews to see if Jake's head, which I already know. I already know that. Why should I even waste my time, It goes on to say, it says, the president deployed troops this weekend, claiming the U.S. threatens to invade as tensions escalate in the Latin American state. It says, and this was put up, give you when it was put up. This was put up today.
Here's a look at the drought conditions.
Yeah, early in the morning. So this is new news. It says troops have been deployed around Venezuela's capital of Caracas, and this happened in Greece. The same thing is happening just like it happened in Greece. Caracas and in every strategic region this weekend during the country's largest ever military exercise. Military exercise. The government claims the exercises are in response to the threat of invasion from the United States. But the real reason for the governor's state of emergency declaration is likely much closer to home. And if you people out there that say, well, y'all always go on the prophecy, speak on something else, I said, then you can go to ISUPK, you can go to IUIC, you can go to GOCC. All you got to do is click and go to some, you don't got to watch us, all right? Okay? So anybody that got a problem with us, you can do one or two things. You can scoff like you usually do, or you can keep it moving. Because when this thing goes down, I'm not going to be concerned about you. I'm just letting you niggas know that, all right? And we're just going to be saying, see, yep, that came to pass. Yep, just like we said. Through the Spirit of the Most High, just so you know. It says for over a year now, Venezuela have been suffering under. Now, this has been going on for a whole year. For over a year, more than a year, for over a year, Venezuelans have been suffering under an ever-deepening economic and political crisis. I mean, is it coming up here? Time will tell. It says, bare supermarket shelves are common. And see, that's when reality hits you dead in the face. See, you jakes out there, you can go to the corner store, you can go to the bodega, you can go to whatever supermarket you can go to, and the food is there. Well, what's going to happen when you go to the supermarket and the place is closed? What you going to do? Do you got farms on the top of your projects? You're going to bug out, man. You're going to bug out. You're not going to know what to do because you didn't know it was coming. And you're not going to know who to call on. It's going to get real. See, reality done hit these people in the face, man. It's going to hit you in the face. And you're not going to know what to do. It says, bare supermarket shelves are common. Vital medicines are in short supply. Now, you got a lot of jakes that they've been taking medicine for years. They go to the pharmacy, they get their 20 different pills, and they take them pills. And that keeps them going. And they go to their doctor appointments. You know, and the doctor tells them to lay off of fried foods and don't eat pork. And they'll say yes, and they'll lay off for about 2 days, and they'll go right back to. I know this because I know this for a fact. You know, some simple ass people, man. It says vital medicines are in short supply. Crime is rising. When you have a crisis like this, an economic crisis, crimes go up. All right. Well, listen, this ain't nothing but Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. You know, blackouts occur daily. To save electricity, the government asks public sector workers to only show up on Mondays and Tuesdays, and this could soon extend to private companies as well. And that's socialism. All this in one of the largest oil-producing nations on earth. And what affected them was the fact that the oil prices was so low. That's why you can go to the gas station and get gas for like $2 a gallon, depending on where you live. A couple of years ago, it was like almost $4. So that cut their revenue less than half. You see? So it's becoming real.
And this word's been going out too, because I remember the first site that we had, Piedra Mega Mil, you know, which we had put up on YouTube, and we eventually had shut it down because we were getting nothing but negative responses, and all them different South American and Central American countries, they were watching, just like they're watching the new Spanish sites now, you know. So the Lord has been warning these people, but they don't take heed, you know. So the Lord is bringing them judgments. You know, but he's saving the best for last. This is this raggedy-ass queendom called America. Now, this is, and then I just wanted to read this real quick. This is on hyperinflation, because that's what they're experiencing down there in Venezuela. It's hyperinflation, right? So it says hyperinflation is an extremely rapid period of inflation, usually caused by a rapid increase in the money supply, usually due to unrestrained printing of fiat currency. And that's exactly what it is. Because the soaring prices in goods is caused because there's been put too many dollar bills into the money pot, so to speak, into that money soup, and it's watering it down. So it takes more of those dollars to buy what you would have bought, you know, for let's say $1. Now it'll take you $10 or $20 or $100 to buy the same thing. And then as you read on down in the Wikipedia, it says, in economics, hyperinflation occurs when a country experiences very high and usually accelerating rates of inflation, rapidly eroding the real value of the local currency and causing the population to minimize their holdings of the local money. Why? Because that local money is pretty much is worthless. You know? Now, that's dealing with this fiat money. But eventually, even gold and silver, in some cases, are not going to help you out. This is Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 16. It says, but they that escape of them shall escape, and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys. All of them mourning, every one for his iniquity. All hands shall be feeble, and all knees shall be weak as water. And that's what's happening right now in Venezuela. You know, it says that they're feeble, and then their hands are feeble, and the knees are weak as water. And that's what's happening. That's why they're crying to the government for food. You know, they're hunting down poor dogs and cats and whatever else they can find to scavenge for food. And eventually, when all that runs out and they don't have no leaves in the trees or no fruits on the trees to eat, guess what? They're gonna start eating each other. You know, so they may turn to cannibalism if they have nothing else left. It says, "They shall also gird themselves with sackcloth, and horror shall cover them." And that's what's happening right now. The horror is covering them. And what do you think that a man is going to do down there, you know, when he has no way to feed his family, and then somebody else got something that he needs? They're going to get to killing each other and taking each other's whatever resources they have for them and their fellows survive. It says, "And horror shall cover them, and shame shall be upon all faces, and baldness upon all their heads. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed." You know, and you could basically use that for this paper currency. You know, eventually that money is worthless. It says, "Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord," because eventually, after all this is said and done, then comes the destruction. But the reason why that they're pushing this economic turmoil in these different nations is because they're making room for that microchip. Because if they bring that turmoil, right, and they say, if you accept this microchip, you know, you'll be able to eat and all that. You won't have any more problems financially.
Exactly. Like the apostle said a couple minutes ago, he used the term auto-ab-ko, or a problem, reaction, solution. Also, it's called Hegelian dialectics, where you create a problem, you know, you get a reaction from the government and the people, then you look, and then the government looks for a solution. So the solution will be the RFID microchip, all right? And you people will be willing to take it, you know? You know, if you're at the point where you see a cat and you say, "Here, kitty, kitty, here," and you grab it, you chop his head off and cook it, you don't want to do that. You want to go to eating chicken and eating chicken, you know, and eating what you used to eating. So if the chip, which is the mark of the beast, when they present that to you, you say you take that chip, the money system be okay, you'll be able to go back to eating what you normally eat, all right? And things will be okay. You'll be fighting to get that chip, like I've been saying. And I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but I see, you know, I perceive, you know, this is not a prophecy or nothing like that, but I perceive that they're going to make the chip, the RFID chip, microchip, or mark of the beast, so attractive that they're going to be the new Jordans. And you niggas are going to be fighting to get that damn chip. And there's going to be certain of us that's not going to take that chip. You see? So everything's coming into play beautifully, man. And like I said, and I've been saying, tens of millions of Israelites shall die here in America and around the world. But now let me read this. See, when you look up certain things, you Google certain things, you look up things to get information because you heard it say inflation and hyperinflation, then you look it up. Like over here, like for example, I put in the word inflation. The first definition is inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and consequently the purchasing power of currency is failing. Central banks, a central bank is a Federal Reserve Bank. That's where other commercial banks and other banks get their dollar bill from, which we call FRNs, Federal Reserve Notes, which is not backed by anything, right? It's a credit-based monetary system. It says central banks attempt to limit inflation and avoid deflation in order to keep the economy running smoothly. Now, if you notice, you read the word inflation, and you think you're going to get the definitions, they didn't give you the definition. They didn't. Let me read that again. Inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, which is true. But they dance around the answer. And consequently, the purchasing power of a currency is failing, which is true. But they don't tell you where it came from. Central banks attempt to limit inflation. Now, they don't explain what that means, and avoid deflation in order to keep the economy running smoothly. And the definition of inflation is when you have a certain amount of money that's a certain amount of currency, in the economy. Let's say it's $1 billion. Okay, you want to buy a steak for $16, right? If the central bank, or also known as a bank of issue, I'm going to look that word up. If a central bank or a bank of issue decides to print or put into circulation by zeros behind a one, if they double it, how much is that steak going to cost you? It's going to cost you $32. And if they double that steak is going to cost you $64. That's inflation. Really, that's hyperinflation. All right? So you look up these words, and you still don't get the answer.
This is from spychips.com. This is called RFID 1984. This was released June 6, 2006. It says Spanish-speaking countries warned about RFID. Spy Chips translation released today. A Spanish-language version of the award-winning book Spy Chips, how major corporations and governments plan to track your every move with RFID, is being released today in Latin American countries, including Mexico, Colombia, Panama, Venezuela, and Chile. The initial distribution will be to Christian bookstores, with general distribution to follow later this summer. The controversial work about the downside of radio frequency identification was originally published in English by American authors Catherine Albrecht and Liz McIntyre. Radio frequency identification is a controversial technology that uses tiny microchips to track everyday objects, animals, and even people from a distance. These RFID microchips have earned the nickname spy chips because each contains a unique identification number, like a social security number for things, that can be read silently and invisibly by radio waves. So, this information has been going out there. It is very important that we get the word out to Latin America, says McIntyre. The RFID industry has been targeting Hispanic people with the technology, believing they are not as informed about its dangers for privacy and civil liberties.
I gotta say something on that. Not for nothing, but you Latin Americans, you're a bunch of dumbasses. You don't know what's going on. You don't know the scriptures. There's nothing deep about you, at this point in time. But there's some of y'all that are waking up, That's why y'all take it. See, up here in America, this is the last bastion of hope. Hey, for the Israelites. Hey, because the last place it's going to come to is over here. And you know why? Because there's a lot of people. You got them Edomites, which a lot of them are Jake anyway, Black Irish and Scots. You got a lot of them in the Bible Belt that all they do is they read the scriptures, man. And they know a lot of them they call them backwards people, man. They're not all that backwards, man. The ones that are backwards are them Jakes down there, them simple-minded Jakes, But them so-called Edomites out there in the Bible Belt, they know about the mark. They know that the mark of the beast is the chip. Jake doesn't know that. You go to these different churches among these different Edomite groups, they go into the chip, man. But then, now go to any so-called black church. They ain't talking about the chip. You might find one church in 1,000 that might go into the chip. But like I said, the reason why it's going to work down there in South America, because those people in South America, they're basically Roman Catholics. And in the Roman Catholic religion, or cult, I should say, you basically go to the cathedral or the church, and the priest reads to you and he tells you what you should do and what you should not do, and then you go home. You know? They don't encourage you to study. You don't question the priest. So that's how. So they're not the priests are not telling you not to take the chip, or they're not going into the mark of the beast and telling you it's a chip, because for the most part they don't know themselves, and the ones that do know are told, look, don't tell the people what the mark of the beast really is. And that's why, if you notice, when you watch, our pages, related pages, we constantly bring you news on the chip, man, on the microchip RFID technology, because that's one of the main, that's the next big